Silly season already bleeding in, man. Yes, people, what's going on? And welcome on back to Football Therapy with me, your host, Jan. I do hope you're doing well, mate. I really do hope that, as always. And welcome on in. Welcome back to Chelsea News, of course, the daily series here on the channel where I reflect on what's being said about Chelsea, giving you my thoughts, feelings and opinions on it, but as always, more importantly, asking for yours. In today's video, a quick roundup on injuries and return dates for certain players that are out at the moment, and there's some positive news there indeed. I do want to reflect on this Toney loan story to Chelsea because actually, in many ways, it would make a lot of sense. And in some ways, it would be terrible. Do we trust the source as well? We'll jump into that and I'll give you my thoughts and feelings on the subject. And also talk about the attackers as well at Chelsea. Garnacho, of course, still yet to register a goal or assist, but a lot of people speaking positively about the Chelsea left winger. Still feels strange to call him a Chelsea winger because he still kind of oozes Man United, and that's not really a cuss on him, that's just how I feel. But as soon as he gets that goal, I think we'll be like, right, Chelsea. And actually, quietly, he looks really good. I want to speak a bit about that as well. So it's going to be a good video. Settle in, get comfortable. If you do want to support the content, it's super simple. Just like and subscribe. We are, of course, on the road to 200,000 subs, which would be a great achievement. You could be part of the journey if you want to. Also, if you want to drop some of those sweet hype points, you can do. I think they're down here somewhere underneath your screen. You swipe across, you hype the video. It helps me out a lot and I would appreciate it. Right, so let's get into the video, let's get into the content, and let's start off with the injuries and return dates of players. Right, so I'm going to reel some of these off for you now. It's courtesy of the Standard. Starting off with Josh Champong. Of course, he came off in the game against Liverpool. It looks precautionary, so we can hope he returns straight after the international break against Nottingham Forest, and it looks like we are going to need him. Similarly, Benoit Badiashile is the same. It doesn't look like a serious injury, and he too can return back after the international break for the game against, hopefully, Ange Postecoglou's Nottingham Forest. Keeping the positive news going, both Andre Santos and Cole Palmer, as things stand, are also expected to return for the Nottingham Forest game. And oh my god, it doesn't stop there, ladies and gentlemen, because both Fofana and Tosin Adarabioyo also available straight after the international break. That only leaves Liam Delap, Dario Asugo, and Levi Colwill as longer-term absentees. Now, that's hugely important and gives you the warm fuzzies. I do hope Ange Postecoglou is still in situ after the international break, because then hopefully the game will be a lot easier. Wide open spaces for players to run into, the likes of Garnacho, Estevao, Neto, Gittins, Palmer. Ooh, but yes, the reintroduction of Andre Santos into this side would be really, really useful. Of course, in the absence of Dario Asugo, who will still be out for a little while yet, the likes of Santos and indeed the Romeo Lavia. Romeo Lavia. Heck no, the Romeo Lavia will be hugely important, though we need to really, really be careful about his fitness, of course. But these are huge, huge players coming back. Of course, Trevoh Chalobah will be available. He's not injured. He was just suspended for Liverpool. So, you know, returning for the Forest game with defenders like, you know, Badiashile, who's looked like a really, really good player to come back with his left foot. And just his dominance in central defence in the absence of Levi Colwill, you know, him coming back, Trev coming back, Josh Champong looked excellent against Liverpool. Suddenly that decimated defence looks like, okay, we've got players now. We're going to be okay. I am a little bit worried personally about Cole Palmer and if his return will actually represent him returning to form, or if, you know, because he's desperate to play, he's desperate to come back. I'm a little worried about him. We'll have to see what happens there. And of course, I forgot to mention Tosin. Even though Tosin's maybe stocks are down a little bit comparatively to other central defenders, hugely important. Suddenly, I feel a lot safer in terms of available players after the international break. I feel like for the first time in a long time, I can sit back, I can chill, I can relax, I can, you know, watch really boring international football and look forward to the return of Premier League football. Again, hoping that Ange Postecoglou still manages Nottingham Forest. Please, football gods. Anyway, that's enough of that. That's some good news for you there, yeah? hugely positive injury news, if we are to believe the Standard. They're a reputable newspaper, right? Right? Let's move on, go to silly season for a little bit, dive into the future, into January, and talk about Ivan Toney. Right, this story is coming from the X account IndyCar The News. Now, before we look at the post on X, yes, that account posted that story about Maresca and him losing the faith of his players, and generally a toxic story that, many of us were concerned about and rejected. I reported on it, or should I say reacted to it, purely on the premise that this account was credited by the Athletics, the article Ornstein that referenced this account, saying, yeah, they got the story first. That gave this account some credibility when Big David Ornstein is giving you props. So it became like a social media account to, is this guy a source? And to be honest, we all watched the Liverpool game, the result, the players all together, the manager, there looks like a great togetherness there. It doesn't look like the manager's about to get sacked at all. But to be fair, that story suggested that a couple of players were unhappy with him and considered him arrogant, and that the owners know. That story could be true. That story could be the agents of Axel Disasi and Raheem Sterling. Do you know what I mean? It could have been like, we don't like him. Obviously, they're the bomb squad players, and the owners know they don't like him. And I'm theorizing here, and those agents leaked that story to some people that this account picked up. So all things could be true. The majority of the squad could be very happy with Maresca, the club's very happy with Maresca, but a couple of players aren't. It could be the bomb squad, it could even be a couple of players on the outskirts of the main team. It could all be true. But, the point is, this story is circulated about Ivan Toney from this same account. So I want to offer that caveat, that disclaimer. To be honest, I wouldn't even been talking about this had it not been David Ornstein that has previously credited this source before. So I just feel like I need to get that out of the way first. So let's have a look then. There was a tweet on the 1st of October, an exclusive, apparently. Chelsea to target striker in January. We understand the agent of Ivan Toney has met Chelsea Football Club officials. The player is interested in the move back to the Premier League on loan in January. Just yesterday, there was a follow-up post on X going exclusive again. We already broke the story that Chelsea want Toney on loan in January. We understand that Thomas Frank has also contacted Toney directly on a possible loan move to Spurs. Now, we know Thomas Frank got a great tune out of Ivan Toney at Brentford, but Thomas Frank has got like Kolo Muani and Dominic Solanke. How many strikers, like actual centre forwards, do you need, mate? Which of course brings us to Chelsea. I think what we've learned a little bit over time is Chelsea do need a proper striker centre forward to be playing to get the best out of the other guys. And I do include Joao Pedro in that. Even if it's just Mark Yu running and barging into people and occupying centre backs, it genuinely makes a huge difference. And the players in behind, not just Joao Pedro in like a number 10 second striker role, but the wingers as well. It makes everyone cook better. It makes everyone a lot happier. Now, it's tricky, isn't it? Because Liam Delap will return, and he could be a starter for Chelsea, genuinely. He could be that guy. But if maybe, it's so tricky, because if we were originally, before Maresca got upset with Jackson, gonna keep Jackson, we are sort of short a senior striker, especially if as time goes on, we look at Joao Pedro going, yeah, he's not a striker. We don't want to play him as a striker, or, we can in a pinch, we can play him on the left and up top in certain game states, but generally we want a proper centre forward up there to just really hold a presence. Look no further than Ivan Toney. Now, am I saying I want will I want us to sign him? I've done plenty of videos over the last 2 or 3 years when links come with Ivan Toney and I go, yes please, I like him. I liked, before we went to Saudi, I like the fact how he's been called up for England. I do like a lot about Ivan Toney. Now from his perspective, if he's on loan from Saudi, he's still getting employed by them, I guess. Of course, there's that rule that you have to have played in Saudi Arabia for at least 2 years to avoid certain tax implications from the UK. Now, I don't know if loan affects that, but if you come back early doors, you sacrifice a lot of money. I think Jordan Henderson did that when he went to Ajax and left Saudi early. So it's very interesting, but I can understand entirely why he would want to come back to the Premier League, because I think he's 29 years old, and he'll want to play in the World Cup. He'll think probably it's his last chance. He'll think there's Harry Kane, but then it's all up for grabs behind him, and I can be that guy. Of course, I think he was called up by Thomas Tuchel from Saudi Arabia, but hasn't been called up since. So he's probably thinking, right, Chelsea, or indeed Spurs, but let's just say Chelsea, they look like a team that's cooking at the moment. I could go start for them. Play 6 months in the Champions League for Chelsea, in the Premier League for Chelsea. You know, cook with Cole Palmer, with Reece James, other England internationals, to the point where Thomas Tuchel says, yeah, on the plane next summer, mate, you're coming to the World Cup in America. So I can understand from his perspective, provided that rule is true, that he won't sacrifice all this money and taxes. Again, you'll have to go research. I'm not entirely sure how it works, but I know there's a 2-year rule. And generally, would I be adverse to it? No. We know this ownership will do peculiar loans. Look no further than Facundo Buonanotte, who's starting Champions League games for Chelsea. But, like, that is like, I don't want to sound like a kid, like a Gen Z or X here, but that wasn't on my bingo card. So here we are. A 6 months loan, because of course Delap will return in a few months or a couple of months, but is he going to be up to speed? And then if we are going to play Joao Pedro exclusively as, or mainly not as a striker, then I don't ever want to see Tyreek George play there again. I love Tyreek George. I'm happy for him to feature on the wings, but that shouldn't be an option for me. So, if for the final second half of the season you go, right, well, your 2 striker centre forward options are Ivan Toney or Liam Delap, thank you very much. 2 strong, big centre forwards that can occupy defenders and allow the likes of Joao Pedro, Cole Palmer to cook. Buonanotte, whatever, your creative number 10s. I'm not averse to it. I do kind of like it. I wanted to react to that story because, of course, this source has made it bleed into other like headlines on, football news, on football media, so it was worthy of a talking point in my opinion. I'm not going to keep sourcing this guy if nothing comes to pass. It really is. They're still eating out on that David Ornstein reference, but they might just vanish into obscurity. Let me know your thoughts, and let's move on and talk about some other attackers. So, of course, Chelsea do have a new attack with some players. Of course, Joao Pedro and Liam Delap. Broadly, a lot of Chelsea fans like those 2 players. And of course, there's the left side, the entire new left side. Gittins and Garnacho. Just quickly starting off with Jamie Gittins. He did pop off a nice shot against Liverpool, and he's caught a lot of flack from Chelsea fans. A lot of Chelsea fans are not overly excited in terms of what they've seen from him already. And I get it. He's not been overly exciting and dynamic, and he's taking a while to settle. He's kind of surprising. If you look on the other side, Estevão, he came from the Brazilian league. He's very young, and he looks fearless, and he looks really, really effective. Just believes in himself, yeah? I mean, I understand you've got to be careful with Estevão because he's, he gets the odd card. He's sort of like maybe not as tactically disciplined and defensively disciplined as wingers in the Premier League need. Like, of course, he's playing behind Pedro Neto, and I can totally understand why a football manager, a Premier League manager goes, yeah, Pedro Neto starting. He's versatile, he can switch sides comfortably, he's good going forwards, he's a really amazing, intelligent presser, Pedro Neto, and he does his doggies, he gets back, he defends incredibly well. It's a lot to ask this young teen who's just sort of bowled up in Europe, but generally, he looks great, and off the bench, he's an amazing tool to have, and he will become a starter, I think, definitely at Chelsea, and he'll learn to defend better and all this stuff. He's got plenty of time. But generally, in terms of settling in, he looks like, yeah, Premier League, I can affect the attack, easy. Whereas Gittins hasn't done that. And it's a surprise, because he's got 100 appearances for a top 5 league team, and he's played in the Champions League. But I am not overly worried about him. And again, to reference the analysis of Seb Stafford-Bloor, the German football expert of The Athletic, he says he's incredibly exciting and talented, and when he gets going, he will get people out of their seats. He's a little bit different to Garnacho. I mean, they're both fast players in transition, but I think he's a little bit more like he'll be able to stop the game, slow it down, do some dribbles, 1v1s more than Garnacho. And I think they're different tools to have on the left, but I think he's 20 years old, isn't he, Gittins? He's just got here. Let's all chill out for a little bit, do you know what I mean? I think it's because he costs 50 odd million quid. He costs more than Garnacho. But I think Garnacho might prove to be a bargain in the long term. Of course, that's what certain Man United correspondents are saying. Maybe not the fans that are willing him to fail, but people who know about football, they're like, yeah, 40 million quid for Garnacho ain't bad. Of course, we paid more for Gittins. He's shown less. So, I was going to say surprisingly, but we've seen Garnacho operate in the Premier League already. But I did want to just quickly mention Gittins because I think he'll be okay. and I think he'll be afforded the opportunity to develop quietly in the background without pressure on him because of the likes of Garnacho, who I want to talk about now. So yeah, Alejandro Garnacho, the player that many Chelsea fans said no to, but similarly, a player that left Chelsea in Toney who went to Arsenal. Pretty much all the Arsenal fans said no to Maresca, who cost 12 million more than Garnacho cost Chelsea. And Maresca has gone to Arsenal. He's looked very promising indeed. Of course, he himself hasn't registered a goal or assist yet for Arsenal, but they've been very happy with how he's affected the attack. And of course, it's a much smaller sample size with Garnacho because he wasn't starting games and he's just come off the bench. But the last couple of games, the Benfica game, the Liverpool game, a lot of Chelsea fans are going, yeah, I can see this. And actually, I was listening to, I think it was straight out of Cobham Pod, one of the Chelsea podcasts I listened to. People are like, yeah, he's the starting left winger for Chelsea at the moment. And I must say, I can see it. Look, if everyone was fit and you wanted an amazing attack and there was loads of time to train, maybe there's a world where you play Cole Palmer on the inside left pocket wing coming in and Cucurella overlaps and you play Estaval on the right or whatever. But the truth is, it's probably in the absence, or Cole plays in the 10, it's probably Neto on the right and Garnacho on the left because you can trust him. He'll run back, he'll make intelligent moves, he'll always be an outlet like he was for Manchester United. And I think a pleasant little surprise that maybe isn't getting spoken about enough is he's developed a really quick and good understanding with Marc Cucurella, who's one of Chelsea's best players. The fact how they know what to do, how to pass to each other, it's these little, understandings, partnerships, the way you develop chemistry that will make you good quickly. Look at Liverpool, the team we beat on the weekend. They're failing because their new players aren't developing chemistry together. So with the fact how Garnacho and Cucurella are linking up, yeah, if you start a game tomorrow, I think, or like a big game soon, again, Garnacho will start. And he's one of those players, unlike Mohamed Salah. So again, to reference the team we're playing, if Salah's not getting a goal, if Salah's not getting an assist, Salah is stinking out the gaff and he's a passenger. Garnacho, and indeed Toney Madueke, deserves his flowers in this instance. They can still really affect the game, really help you out without getting goals and assists. And Garnacho completely stretches the play, completely offers, that channel on the left side channel, opens it up and it makes the tactics or just the general tactical plan a lot better for Chelsea. So I can understand why Garnacho, for the moment, is Maresca's starting left winger. Right, that wraps it for today, guys. Let me know your thoughts. How do you feel about the stuff I've spoken about in today's video? Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the content, drop a like. If you want more, subscribe. If you choose to subscribe, hit the bell. And yeah, man, I hope to see you back here very soon. Take care. Peace.
You ain't so tough with that bad boy talk. I'ma get it how I'm living, I'ma walk the walk. Outline my lines, I rap through thought. Body bag the verse, outlined in chalk. In my life seen trouble, hustle on the double. Silence on the trigger like my pick got a muzzle. Yo, chick like to guzzle, bad boy stay in trouble. I only love this paper, sorry I don't. I love me, baby.